Everything feels heavier than usual. Life doesn't seem to make sense. You feel like you're carrying invisible weight, like no one around you truly understands the path you're on, and even your own mind is working against you. Every day is a puzzle, every interaction a test, and every decision feels like it could lead you into chaos. You've tried to find answers, searched for clarity, yet nothing seems to stick. But here's the truth. This weight, this confusion, and this struggle are not signs that you're failing. They're signs that you're waking up. By the time this video ends, you'll understand why the hardest parts of your spiritual journey are actually shaping the strongest, most empowered version of yourself, and why the answers you're looking for are closer than you think, if you're willing to see them. At first, it feels like walking through fog. You take one step forward, and the path behind you disappears. You can't trust what you see or hear, because your perception is shifting in ways that are hard to describe. People may call you distant, moody, or even selfish, but what's really happening is that your inner world is expanding faster than your outer world can keep up with. Every familiar routine, every old habit, and every relationship is suddenly being questioned. You start to notice things you ignored before, the hidden tensions, the invisible patterns, the silent compromises you made just to feel accepted. It's exhausting, yet strangely exhilarating, because deep down you sense that the life you've been living is no longer meant for you. But there's a moment in this process that most people never talk about, the point where everything familiar starts to collapse, and you feel entirely unmoored, as if the life you knew is vanishing without a map to guide you. And it's here, in this exact disorientation, that the first breakthrough begins to form. You just don't see it yet. Then there's the emotional intensity that sneaks up on you. Ordinary events trigger profound reactions. Conversations that once seemed harmless now spark deep reflection or unexpected pain. It's like your sensitivity has been turned up to maximum, and you can't hide from what's stirring inside. Some days it feels unbearable, and you wonder if you're overreacting, if the world is simply too harsh, or if something is fundamentally wrong with you. But the truth is that nothing is wrong. Your awareness is awakening, and with it, you're beginning to feel life more fully than ever before. Every surge of emotion is a signal, a guide pointing you toward areas of your life that need attention, healing, or release. Yet there's a tricky part. Not every surge comes with clarity, and not every message is easy to decode. Sometimes the very intensity of your feelings seems to hide the lesson, and you'll have to learn patience before the next layer of understanding reveals itself. You may notice that clarity is never immediate. You seek insight through books, videos, meditations, or conversations with mentors, and yet answers always seem just out of reach. It's tempting to feel stuck, like your effort is futile, like the universe is testing your endurance. But what if the struggle itself is the answer? Your mind, when restless, is learning to observe without judgment. Your heart, when overwhelmed, is learning to trust without proof. Your life, when chaotic, is teaching you to recognize patterns invisible to the casual observer. And just when you start to despair, a subtle shift appears, a moment of insight that seems almost accidental. A thought arises, a conversation triggers understanding, or a decision suddenly feels effortless. You're not just progressing, you're evolving, yet the full scope of what's happening is invisible until you pause long enough to notice it. And even then, the next layer is always waiting to be discovered. Isolation becomes another silent teacher. As your perception deepens, the people who once felt close may drift away. Conversations that used to feel natural now seem shallow, and you may realize that your energy no longer aligns with the environment you inhabit. This can feel painful and confusing, even frightening, because connection is a fundamental human need. But it's also a necessary part of growth. The people who leave, the spaces that no longer resonate, and the routines that feel empty are all signals pointing toward something greater. A life that is truly yours, built around clarity, authenticity, and purpose. And here's the tension. The hardest part of this phase is not letting go of others, but letting go of the version of yourself that used to need them. Once you cross that threshold, your journey takes on a force of its own, but not before you wrestle with the uncertainty of who you are without those familiar anchors. Then comes the subtle, almost invisible progress that can make you question whether your efforts are meaningful. You meditate, reflect, journal, and try to align your actions with your inner truth, and yet the changes aren't dramatic. The world doesn't notice, and sometimes neither do you. But growth in these moments is happening on a deeper level, shaping neural pathways, reshaping thought patterns, and refining your energy in ways that will eventually manifest externally. One day you'll wake up and realize you no longer react the way you used to. You no longer chase validation the way you once did, and decisions that once felt impossible now feel natural. And in that moment, everything clicks. The struggle, the isolation, the confusion, all of it suddenly makes sense. But here's the twist. By the time you notice the change, the next evolution is already underway, quietly preparing you for what's next. There's a stage where your beliefs begin to collapse, where everything you thought was true is questioned. Old narratives about who you are, what you deserve, and what life should look like start to crumble. This can feel terrifying because identity feels like safety, and when your old identity dissolves, the ground feels unstable. But what if that collapse is not destruction, but liberation? The person you were is making space for the person you are becoming. Every fear, every failure, and every uncomfortable truth that surfaces is part of a silent curriculum teaching you how to hold your own power. And just when you feel like the chaos might consume you, there's a strange calm that emerges, a whisper from inside that the next level of your life is already forming. You just haven't stepped into it yet. You begin to notice synchronicities, small, inexplicable events that seem to align with your inner thoughts or intentions. A conversation with a stranger, a line in a book, a chance encounter. Suddenly the world feels less random. These moments are hints, guiding you toward insight, clarity, and opportunity. But the real challenge is not to chase them or demand answers. The real challenge is noticing them, trusting them, and responding in alignment with your intuition. And here's the catch. The next step is rarely obvious, and it often requires courage you didn't know you had. If you follow the guidance, life begins to feel like it's finally working with you rather than against you. But the secret is that the path will never be fully clear. The uncertainty is part of the process, and learning to act anyway is where true mastery begins. Finally, the core of the difficulty lies in transformation itself. Your mind, your emotions, and your daily reality are all being reshaped simultaneously. This is disorienting because evolution always feels like letting go before you can fully grasp what's next. You lose old patterns, old relationships, old certainties, and sometimes even old hopes. But what rises in their place is a version of yourself that is resilient, clear, and in control of your own energy. The struggle, the resistance, the loneliness, all of it is training you to hold your power in ways you never imagined. And just when you feel like you can't take another step, the next level of your life emerges, invisible to the eye but undeniable in its effect, waiting for you to claim it. So if your spiritual journey feels heavy, confusing, or even painful, know this. The struggle itself is your teacher, your ally, and your proof that growth is happening. You are awakening, and with each challenge, each moment of doubt, and each wave of emotion, you are shaping a stronger, wiser, and more aligned version of yourself. The clarity you seek, the freedom you crave, and the power you are meant to embody are not distant. They are already present, quietly emerging in every small insight and every deliberate action you take. The next step is simple but profound. Pay attention. Notice the subtle shifts in your thoughts, your feelings, and your surroundings. Journal, reflect, act with intention, and trust that even the discomfort has a purpose. Every challenge compounds, every insight matters, and every moment brings you closer to the life you were always meant to live. You're not lost. You're awakening. And if you can stay present, patient, and persistent, the life you once thought impossible will unfold before your eyes, one invisible, powerful step at a time.